Hey there internets, I'm Michael and this is Toucan Play That Game, bringing you a review of Blood Rage by Call Mini or Not. So what is Blood Rage? Well, let's look at the box here. We have a Viking warrior and he is surrounded by the world falling apart and burning in ruin. Sounds a bit dark. Well, what the game is actually about is you are controlling a clan of Vikings during Ragnarok, the Norse end of the world. And at the end of Ragnarok, you must have the most glory and be held in the most esteem by the gods in order to have the best place in Valhalla, which is their version of the afterlife. Whoever has the most glory wins the game. So glory are your victory points in this, and there are many different ways that you build that up over the course of the game. So the first stage of each of the rounds is to draft your cards for the round, and you'll be drafting a total of 6 cards, and each player will be dealt 8 to begin with, taking turns drafting a single card and passing them on. Then, once everyone has finished doing this, you'll discard the final 2 cards so that you have 6, at which point you then move on to doing actions. Now, there are 5 different main actions in this game, and if you do want to learn more detail about all of those, you can go watch my instructional video or my playthrough. But you'll take turns doing one of those 5 actions, and then it passes to the next player, to the next player, to the next player, until either you have pillaged all of the available provinces on the map, which represents you attacking an area and destroying the villages there and taking the goods, which enables you to raise your clan stats. Or everyone is out of rage. Those are the 2 end conditions for the actions phase. You then go on to complete quests, which is where this game introduces an area control aspect, because the quests always revolve around having the most strength, which is equal to your unit's power, and different units are different levels of strength, in a certain province, which is a region of the map. If you manage to achieve that, you'll gain glory, victory points, as well as also being able to increase your clan stats. Then we have Ragnarok, which is where one of the provinces on the map gets destroyed, and you do know ahead of time what this will be, so you can aim to have your figures there, and any figures that die during Ragnarok gain you glory, because dying trying to fend off the end of the world is apparently a good thing. And so we then do that, all the figures die, you then get all your figures back into your reserve, which is kind of your pool that you can put figures onto the map from. This will happen for 3 rounds, which are called ages. Then we total up the glory to see who has won. So what do I think of this? Well, let's start with the artwork, looking at the box here. So yes, I mean, this box is quite aggressive. It's very dark, it's very red, it's violent. The game itself does not feel that violent. And I would say that this artwork is not actually indicative of the game as a whole either. I mean, if you look at the bottom of the box, this is much better artwork to represent what you see. So you have here some of the Vikings, and you see the same on the back of your player boards, and this is a really nice image. And then the front of the player boards, you have different images for the different clans which relate to different animals, and again, these are very nice, pretty images, not the same as what you're seeing on the outside of the box, I would say. And even on the inside of the box here, well, I say on the outside of the bottom of the box, so it's inside the lid. On each of the sides, you have all the pictures of the different clans. It's really nice, it's really attractive, and that is this game all the way through with regards to artwork. On the cards, you have this lovely artwork carrying through that you see on the side of the box, and as I say, it isn't indicative of what you see on the outside of the box. Then you have the main board here, and this is again really well done and attractive. Each of the different provinces has a different look and feel to it. You've got the blue provinces are all icy and cold. The yellow ones are a bit deserty. Yggdrasil has the tree there. The water is water. And then all of the villages in these look different as well for the different provinces. So that's really nice, very well done on the artwork. What about the components? Well, you can see I just had the board out there. Huge board, nice thick cardboard, can't complain with that. The tokens, good chunky cardboard. Again, I can't complain there. These little ditty cards, if you watch the show much, you know, I really like these little cards that fit nicely in the hand. And this is also actually really sensible for this game because when you're choosing battle cards, you need to hide them in your hand because you can't just say, right, I've selected mine, put it down on the table, because they have the age on them. So if you carry one over, they'll know, oh, that's the one he had from the first age. Whereas the fact that they've made it small enough for you to hide in a hand, okay, if it was a child playing this, you wouldn't be able to do that. Or maybe just someone with very small hands. But I do think that's very well done component-wise. And of course, I can't mention components on this game without talking about the glory of the miniatures, because these are fantastic. Each of the clans has a different look, a different feel to it, different armour, completely different style. And then you have these big monsters, and these are absolutely fabulous. I mean, so much detail on them, and they're just... You put these out and you feel intimidated by them. They look fantastic. They feel fantastic. Super high quality. And if you're into painting, I'm really looking forward to painting these. I've spoken to loads of people who have painted them, and they're great fun to paint. Loads of detail, really interesting, and you can just go to town with them. So that's the components. Well, let's get into the gameplay, because I think the gameplay really shines here. And you'll notice that so far I have not said anything bad about this game. And it's because me personally, I really struggle to find anything bad about this game. Which is why I went out to the internet to get their suggestions for what is wrong with the game. One of the common suggestions was that it had minis. They weren't interested in minis. If it was just a pure Euro, they would be more interested in having the base game without all this glitz and glamour to it that increases the price. Now, personally, I really appreciate having the minis. I think it makes it feel more thematic to be able to go, and I put out my giant, and it is a giant figure. Would that work with cubes? Not to my mind, but that's just a taste. If you want a bit of theme in a Euro, this is a Euro with some theme and some glitz and glamour to it, basically. And that is what I like about it. But that's also what puts a lot of people off. Because as I say, there are people who like Euros but don't want the glitz and glamour. Then there are people who like the glitz and glamour games, are looking for a true Ameritrash game of just rolling tons of dice, and they're buying this and they try it and they hate the gameplay because it's too much of a Euro for them. So that is kind of where you need to judge this. If you want something that is a light Euro, and this is a light Euro, it's not heavy in any way. There is still strategy there, and a good amount, but it is a light strategy game. It is not heavy at all, but with glitz and glamour. That is when you will like this game. And I'll tell you why it is a Euro. The fact that you have that drafting, okay, that's not unique, but that is one of the key aspects of this game that makes it so much strategy as opposed to luck. The only luck really in this is what cards you get in that first draft. After that, it's not so much luck because you're getting what other people didn't take. So there's strategy in what you do choose to draft, what you don't choose to draft, what you're willing to pass on to other people. And then when it comes to the actual playing of the game, each round, taking your turns, there's very much the opportunity to react to what's going on, to change your plans, to go, oh, they've left that right open for me to do this. I hadn't intended to, but why shouldn't I? And so that is really good. It is a highly strategic game, but it's not a difficult game. But it also doesn't work as a gateway, and this is why it falls short for many people. Because, as I say, it is very light on the Euro aspect. There are decisions there are key decisions, it is strategic, but there isn't huge amounts of going on of managing this finance, managing that, oh, well, if I do that, I can't do that. There's a bit of it, but not a huge amount. But at the same time, it's very intimidating to be a gateway game. So it falls somewhere between gateway and Euro-y. So there is very much a niche market for this, but there are those people who usually would only like miniatures games that actually try this and think, oh, this is actually a good game. So the same things that make it not appeal to people make it appeal to people. It is a weird game in that way, and it's why there's so much arguments online of people saying it's the best game ever, people saying it's overrated. Some of the people I spoke to of why they don't like Blood Rage was because of the hype around it, purely that. And so, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. There is a lot of hype, there is a lot of pressure that this must be the game. But don't fall into that. Just make your own mind up and ignore what other people feel. But of course, what do I think of it? Well, I do love it. I think this is a top 10 game. I love the amount of choices it gives you. I've heard many people complain to say that it is a broken game. Yes, there are some very powerful card combinations in this game. However, I do not feel any are broken. For every card combination there is a way to counteract that once you know the player has those cards. For instance, if you know they're playing a heavy Loki strategy of doing or this and that and getting themselves killed to get loads of glory, simply avoid getting in a fight with them. That's one way to stop giving them glory. Then also, when it comes to drafting in the later rounds, don't give them the cards that are going to get them even more glory or for dying. That very much helps you counteract that. Yes, there are powerful card combinations that can turn the tide, especially if it's the first card that comes to someone and they go, right, I take that, and you don't know they have it. That's part of the luck. That is the luck aspect of this game. But as I say, for most parts, you can counteract that. Another complaint I've heard is that it suffers from a runaway leader. It can do that at times, because if you have a good first couple of ages, you get your clan stats up very high, you've got more rage to do things with the final age, etc. But I've also seen people come from being in dead last to winning the game. So it is possible, because of the way the card combinations work, that if you just play well in that last round, because of the way the points gradually get more and more, you stand a really good chance. In fact, if you have a really good first age but bad third age, then you're actually not going to do that well on scoring, because you always score more in each of the ages as they progress. The game is set up to do that. So that's how it helps protect from a runaway leader, because yes, you might get a few in the first age, a few in the second age, and that sets you up well. But if you don't worry so much about getting your great start on the first and second age, but be thinking about, right, well, I can pull it back in that third age, get loads of glory there, you can counteract that. So of course, this is Toucan play that game. So can 2 play Blood Rage? Yes, I think this is a great game for scaling. It says it plays 2 to 4 players, and I would agree with that. I've enjoyed playing it 2-player. It has a very almost chess-like feel to it when you're doing the placing of you taking your actions of, I take my action, you take your action, I take my action, you take your action, reacting specifically to that one opponent without any other influences involved. But then when you go up to 3 players, you get more of these monsters in. And that's the only downside with the free 2-player, really, is that some of the monsters you'll never see if you only ever play it 2-player, unless you just choose to include them anyway. Because there's nothing really to stop you doing that. It might upset the game balance a little, but not a huge amount. And so, yeah, 3 players, you then start to have more to think about. There's more tugging going on during the actions. It makes the drafting more interesting. And as you go up to 4, again, it just becomes more chaos, more tugging as to what will and won't happen. And the drafting gets more and more interesting. So it works in different ways for all the different player numbers. Now, player time doesn't actually get hugely affected by the increase in player numbers, because one of the things that takes the most time in this game is that drafting phase of each round. And because that's simultaneous, it doesn't matter how many people you have playing the game, that stays pretty much the same length, unless the 4th player happens to be really, really slow, because basically it's as slow as your slowest player at drafting. And then when you go into your actions, Each action is very quick. It probably, I would say, only adds about half an hour per extra player. You're looking at about an hour and a half, I would say, for a 2-player game, 2 hours for a 3-player game, 2.5 hours for a 4-player game, which is longer than the box time, but hey, that's normal for games. So that's my thoughts on Blood Rage. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. Of course, if you have, please do check out the rest of the videos on the channel, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends and family. And do check us out on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. And as always, thanks for watching and bye for now.